The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome everyone to this special webinar run by AMEC in association with Gorkana and Booz Allen Hamilton. My name is Barry Leggiter and I'm CEO of AMEC. Today we want to help you write a killer awards entry. We'll hear from Chris Webb, Associate Director at Pegasus, and Paul Hender, Director of the Gorkana Group. But we want to hear from you too. You can send us your question at any time by using the message box on the screen. Let's start by hearing from Chris Webb.
So hi everyone. Let's get the slides up on the screen. So just to really start off by introducing myself and to say thanks for tuning in. I thought just to start with to give some context from my perspective that if you're not familiar with Pegasus, we're an integrated communications agency. We actually focus on the area of healthcare, but particularly inspiring healthy decisions across different sectors. We're based in Brighton and there's about 80 of us. We work across a broad spectrum of clients that have got a healthy message to deliver. And our kind of mission as an agency is to inspire healthy decisions. And by saying that, we really need to focus on the outcomes that we produce and not just the outputs. So we take measurement very seriously as an agency. And that led us to last year enter the AMEC Awards for the first time. So actually last year we were lucky enough to have our best ever year in terms of awards as an agency. We won various Agency of the Year awards, including the PR Week Consultancy of the Year, and we won various campaign awards as well. So Barry asked me just to really share some of the tips that have worked for us, and particularly in relation to the AMEC Awards, what really made good entries from our perspective. So what I'm going to do is share 6 different tips with you and just give a bit of context around each one to help you with your entry. So first of all, it's about telling a story with your entry, I feel. Try not to presume that the judges know the background, give them the context, but do that in a really concise way. Try to avoid waffling, but give them the background and the context that really shows why this is a great entry. Where were you starting for? What was your starting point effectively? And try and take the judges on a journey. So really look at the entry and ensure it's easy for them to understand the progress that you've made as the campaign or the activity has progressed. Also explain the why and not just the what and the how. So I think naturally as kind of a lot of creative people in the industry, we often want to jump straight into the tactics and what we actually did. But I think it's really important to set out the strategy. So what was the planning? Why did we decide to take that approach? And really take the time to set that out properly. What research informed the approach? And then how the tactics played out to really bring that strategy to life. And finally on this point, about highlighting innovation and creativity. So I know from speaking to some of the judges that this is a really key point that they're looking for, particularly in the context of what did you do differently around measurement and evaluation that really makes this an award-winning entry. So really try and spell out examples of innovation and creativity to help the judges see the marks effectively. So second up, put measurement at the heart of the entry. So I suppose really what I'm saying here is reflect the sentiment of the awards. The AMEC Awards are all about measurement best practice. And they're all about celebrating the importance of that and the impact it can make. So really tailor your award to the brief. Really look at what they're looking for and pull out the kind of key points. Try not to take an existing entry and just tailor it slightly, but really think about how can measurement play the real centre part of your award entry. I suppose effectively it's practicing what you preach. So if you're telling clients to do this, or if you're a business and you're talking about the importance of measurement, then it's really making sure that that's reflected in your entry as well, so that people can clearly see the process that you've been through. So that would be starting with the business objective, which is absolutely crucial. So don't miss that off. Ultimately, what was this campaign trying to do? And then looking at the SMART objectives and the tangible KPIs and what you did to enable effective measurement against those. And finally, and perhaps most importantly, don't just stop with the outputs. Make sure that you are showing the impact the campaign or the activity the program made. That's, I think, perhaps the most crucial piece of all. What evidence have you got? How can you bring to life the fact that this campaign or this piece of work genuinely made a difference, changed attitudes and behaviour? Third up, perhaps a little obvious, but put yourself in the judge's shoes. So they will often be sitting in front of a pile of entries that they'll have to sift through. Probably haven't got loads of time, so how can you make it really easy for them to see that your entry is a worthy winner? What is it about your entry that makes it stand out from the rest of the pile of entries? So it's really, I think, about, as you read it and you refine the entry, helping the judges see the marks, make it easy for them to give the ticks and award the points. I suppose making it engaging, clear and easy to follow is an obvious point, but really important part of that. And also, I think, just from personal experience, allowing sufficient time to review and refine the entry, including getting comments and input from other members of the team, will probably help you make it more concise and perhaps remove or add elements that someone not involved in the activity will pick up on that perhaps you wouldn't. Fourthly, be human. So I think one of the key points around measurement that I really believe in is its role to look forward and not just back. So it shouldn't be something just done at the end of a campaign to reflect on what's done, but it should be really a tool to help you make constant improvements as the program or the campaign progresses. So really, if you can bring that across to say, actually, what didn't work as well as you expected? What did work well? What surprised you? What changes did you make along the way? I think that makes it a really powerful entry. One of the entries that we had last year for a client called BioOil, that really focused on the test and learn ethos that we took to that campaign and how we constantly monitored the reaction to activity on social media and improved it where we could. Another point I would make on this is to be real, objective and honest. So if things didn't go so well, don't gloss over them or don't avoid putting them in, but include it and be honest and be real effectively. So inject personality, show passion and be really proud of what you've achieved with your entry. So perhaps try and avoid robotic language and really get across that sense of passion and the amount of effort that's gone into making this an award-winning campaign. Fifthly, so second to last, sharing feedback from the top. So one of the key ambitions of AMEC is raising the prominence and profile of measurement and evaluation as a discipline effectively. So if you can use sound bites from senior management and you can show how your program or your activity has really helped put measurement up the agenda within your business or your client's business, that's going to really stand out, and I think that's something that the judges will really look for. And it's really about showing the positive outcomes that it's made for your business or your client's business. And so finally, on the 6 tips, the power of presentation. So I think there's often a misconception that measurement and evaluation needs to be dull, that it all needs to be numbers and nothing more than that. But actually I think that's wrong. And I think this is where perhaps creativity and an eye for bringing statistics and data to life in a visual way can make a real difference. So don't underestimate the importance of presentation. Allow time to really bring it to life in a visually engaging way. I find that subheaders and bullet points and thumbnail images really help make the content easily digestible. And then really think about where you have got the results. How can you bring those to life in perhaps a different way that is going to stand out for the judges? What can you do that's just going to be a bit different from the norm and really show them the business impact that your activity made? So just to summarise really, something that you may be asking yourself is awards can be a lot of effort. You know, is it worthwhile? Is it worth, there's a cost attached as well. So why bother entering? And I suppose just from my point of view to say that winning the 3 AMEC Awards last year was absolutely brilliant from a business perspective. with the following reasons in particular. It really helped kind of galvanise support and motivation around the measurement ethos, the importance of it, and it really kind of, I suppose, reinvigorated people in the office to think, actually, we're doing some great work here. You know, let's keep it up. We've been recognised in the awards, and that made a big difference. It also gives you a chance. We're all very busy, and it gives you a kind of time out to reflect on the key achievements and the progress you've made, as well as helping you benchmark across against other agencies or other clients and companies in the business. And inevitably, when you're writing an award entry, you tend to think of the things that you really wish you had done. So there's lots of lessons to be learned for the future as well, things that you maybe will do differently next time, or learnings that you can pick up and run with. And finally, it's been great as an opportunity for positive promotion. Having the AMEC award logo has been a really nice stamp of validation that we're doing a good job when it comes to measurement, and we've been able to use that in our creds, on our website, and various sources. So yeah, I'd really recommend it from that perspective. So now I'll pass you over to Paul from Gorkana.
Thanks, Chris. I think that was a great summary of the various key points that make a compelling award entry. So what I want to do now is to take some of those points and illustrate them with some real-life case studies. So like Pegasus, we also had a good year in 2014, not least on June the 12th, when at the AMEC Measurement Summit in Amsterdam, we had our most successful AMEC Awards night ever. We won 2 silver, 3 gold, and the coveted Grand Prix Platinum Award. And what I want to do today is spend a few minutes to run through 2 of those case studies with you. The first, I think it's worth me introducing the blonde lady in the picture in front of you. And this lady is Elaine Phillips. She's clutching 2 awards, and she heads up the Horizon Scanning Unit at DEFRA, the Department of the Environment, Farming and Rural Affairs within UK government. And that begs the question, what's Horizon Scanning? And Horizon Scanning is one of the most difficult jobs in the world because it's anticipating problems before they happen. So to be more specific, the team's remit is to identify upcoming risks and opportunities and to enable government to prepare and act wherever relevant. So the information they provide informs 2 things. First of all, it informs short-term response, but it also goes to support longer-term policy making from a strategic point of view. And the reporting goes to senior officials both within the department and across government, and even gets escalated to number 10. We at Gorkana support the Horizon Scanning team by monitoring social and mainstream media. Now this is a challenge because of just the sheer volume of content that we have to deal with. So just to illustrate this, we have to monitor and analyze tens of thousands of pieces of coverage every day, which is very difficult. So we use technology, we leverage technology to help us with the heavy lifting. And we do this, we run up to 60 search queries at any one time, and then we collect the data, code it, and present it via live dashboards. And in the media, things obviously constantly change, and we have to react likewise. So if a new issue occurs, we have to set up a new dashboard within 2 hours, and we have to proactively alert the DEFRA team about those issues that are gaining momentum. So an example of this was, if you go back last year, this time last year, we had these extraordinary floods when the UK had the wettest winter since records began. The resulting flooding causing widespread disruption, misery for thousands who had to abandon their homes and obviously deal with the cost of the aftermath. This is Somerset completely underwater. And this became the lead media story for many weeks. And because of this, the media started looking for different angles, from whether insurance companies were paying up, to whether the weather warnings were appropriate, through to had we made the right investment in flood defences, had we learned from other flood-prone countries such as Holland, and of course broader concerns around the impact of climate change. So we needed to identify how these conversations varied across different media channels, including social media, and to identify and understand top influencers. And this was important because when we looked at the data, it showed that 60% of the conversation was actually coming from the top 20 influencers. So focusing in on those was clearly important. And to help us do that, we could use developments in technology which allowed us to look in more detail at demographics, both from male and female splits down to the actual interests and professions of those commenting. We could also see how mainstream and social media interacted with one another, but, for example, by showing the mainstream media stories that are being shared via Twitter. And you can see you almost get a feeling for the scale of this. So looking at the very macro down to the very micro, down to individual tweets and posts. And the work we were doing with DEFRA has been singled out by the head of government communications, Alex Aitken, as leading the way in its field. And over last year, and now we're seeing other departments seeking to follow suit. It actually generated interest both in marketing and on the BBC and in other national media channels. And we submitted this for an AMEC entry, and out of more than 100 entries, we were delighted when the work was recognised by winning the Grand Prix Platinum Award for the best overall example of media analysis. And let me just share a few judges' comments here. Particularly this third one here, the programme is noteworthy. It is using data to identify trends and inform actions. And I think what's important here is that the recognition is not necessarily because the measurement itself was particularly clever, but it's the fact that the programme itself is turning lots of data into concise insights, and those insights could then drive activity, but also, importantly, do it in a timely fashion. So it's informing decision-making. So let me go on to my second example. So from a broad and comprehensive monitoring and measurement program, let's go to a more specific launch of an event. So let's look at the Victoria and Albert Museum, which is, as many people know, one of the world's leading museums of art and design. But they have a challenge, and the challenge they face, which is like any other British museum, is that access to the museum is free. And because of this, the museum is very dependent on extra activities, so special ticketed events and exhibitions in order to generate revenue. So in a typical year, you'd see about 12 of these exhibitions. One of the most highly publicised in the last couple of years has been the David Bowie Is exhibition. And this is where the V&A had unprecedented access to the artist's archive of more than 300 different objects, which included original lyrics, costumes, and instruments. Furthermore, the V&A secured sponsorship deals with both Gucci and Sennheiser, who helped with the audio production of the event. Now, in planning the measurement of this event, we worked with the V&A to build a measurement framework. And this was important because we wanted to align output and outcome metrics with the overall objectives of the V&A. And their overall purpose is to educate and inspire people through art and design. But if you look at the main business results, they were to increase visitor numbers. And in this case, particularly attracting individuals who may not typically attend museums in order to generate ticket sales and to leave a positive impression on those who attended. But because of the sponsorship angle, the V&A also wanted to demonstrate return on investment to those two sponsors. Going down a bit further, in terms of measuring media outputs, we focused in on metrics such as the favourability of coverage, sponsor mentions, appearance in key media, reach to key target audiences. And this was a campaign with a really strong international reach. There's activity in 37 countries. So understanding the media coverage generated by region was important. And finally, but of course importantly, we wanted to show the link between media outputs and outcomes in terms of ticket sales. Now, Chris has mentioned the importance of presentation. And this is really true in this situation. Is to make the analysis engaging to a variety of stakeholders, we wanted it to have a strong visual appeal in keeping with the spirit of the subject matter. So we mixed visuals from the exhibition with data and used a kind of infographic style. Going back to the two sponsors, we produced bespoke pieces of analysis to feed back to both Gucci and Sennheiser. And the key audiences for the latter was music fans. Now, when we've done research into this, we saw that music fans tended not to be those types of individuals that visited museums. So this was really good. We were able to show that the coverage of the exhibition reached 89% of music fans, and with coverage specifically mentioning Sennheiser reaching 72%. And when we fed this back to Sennheiser themselves, they had a very positive response. So we actually had a quote from them. They said, "The awareness and exposure of the brand tie-up was the highest single level of exposure we have had in the UK to date. Not only were we able to communicate with the consumers directly, we also had a great opportunity to further strengthen our brand in the industry, which worked brilliantly for us." Now, although there was an integrated marketing campaign to promote the exhibition, it was important to understand what PR's role in that. Now, what was useful here is that PR was the sole channel in the initial launch, and then other marketing channels followed in support. What this allowed us to do was it allowed us to effectively isolate the PR's effect by linking the PR outputs to the advanced ticket sales in that initial time period. In total, there were over 67,000 advanced tickets sold, which is more than 3 times any other exhibition, and had actually exceeded BA's initial target by 36%. Furthermore, we conducted research amongst those who had attended the exhibition, which showed that 27% were first-time visitors, 24% were from overseas, and 18% had attributed their awareness to content from newspapers and magazines. So we can see the link between media coverage, people visiting the exhibition, and then their appreciation of it as a result. We got strong feedback from the PR team at the V&A, and they said, the results of the report demonstrate the significant impact of the press launch and subsequent press campaign on exhibition ticket sales prior to opening. The full report gives a clear indication of the PR value of the campaign, which we can share with sponsors and museum colleagues. And again, we submitted this to the awards last year, and it won the AMEC Gold Award for the best use of measurement for a single event. And here are some judges' comments. Solid KPI measurement framework, depth and breadth of results are impressive, good output, thoughtful, comprehensive design, strong link to commercial results, and 3 key points, international materials results. So if I take a step back here and we look at those 2 examples together, if I was to be asked, are there 3 key points that you can boil it down to, well, what would they be? So I would say, well, analysis should be about providing insight to solve a business problem. So in the entry, state the problem, but then explain how analysis supported decision-making to improve the situation. Secondly, analysis should be about demonstrating effectiveness. So build evidence to show the efficacy of communications activity, but not just in outputs, but also in outcomes in terms of audience perceptions, engagement, but ultimately business results, which, if you think about the V&A, it was ticket sales. As Chris mentioned earlier on, I think this is a really important point. Don't forget the human element. Analysis itself is a form of communication. The award entries themselves are a form of communication. So don't forget the importance of the human factors, strong presentation, use visuals, tell a story, and keep it real. I think you avoid the temptation to use superlatives. Stick to the facts, keep it grounded. So I'm now going to hand back to Barry.
Thanks to our 2 presenters. I'm going to suggest what could be your awards checklist. And the first point is you have to believe that awards are important for your business, and you also have to appreciate that writing awards entries takes time. And think about establishing an internal team to decide which of the agency's work should be showcased. Debate it fiercely, argue about it. Some of the most successful companies I know in awards terms have this internal battle within their company. And think about this. If you only have one great report, why not enter it into multiple categories, assuming you have the budget? And above all else, take a look at the winning case studies on the AMEC.org website. There's a lot of good tips, a lot of guidance there. So I mentioned earlier on we want to take your questions. You can enter your questions on the message box. I've already had one in, which is a very good question to start with. Will this slide deck be available? Answer, yes. It will be on the AMEC.org website from tomorrow morning. And we've just had another question come in. Who would you recommend write the award entries themselves? So start with Paul, go on to Chris.
Okay, so I'll go through our experience. So I think we have a team aspect to it. So we use a variety of people. You have to have people that know the client or the example that you're doing the entry on. So you've got to involve them. But we also use individuals that can then write up the entry as well and give it a fresh pair of eyes. So I would actually suggest a team effort. But yeah, I think ultimately you do need a point person to do the overall organisation.
Chris, do you want to come in on that?
Yeah, I agree really. I think it has to be someone that's worked on the activity and knows it really well. And then I think just getting someone that hasn't been involved at all to have a read of it, even if it's just a brief moment of their time, to look with independent and fresh eyes. Sometimes they can then point things out that when you're really close to the work, you just completely miss. So that can be a really useful part of the process.
Okay, another very practical question. If it is an in-house marketing department, should they manage the awards any differently from if it's a PR consultancy or an AMEC member company? Paul, have you?
Well, obviously, from my frame of reference, we're a marketing services company, so we obviously do it slightly differently than if we were an in-house team themselves. I would say I think the overall principles that Chris and Barry have mentioned apply regardless of whether you're in a measurement agency like me, or if you're in a PR agency like Chris, or if you're working in an in-house department.
Okay. One more's just come in. What are the AMEC Awards deadlines? You've still got plenty of time. The final deadline isn't until 27th of March. Everything is about the planning. So don't leave it too late would be our collective advice.
Just to pick up on that previous question as well, I think it's worth bearing in mind, I'd recommend looking at the AMEC categories on the AMEC website, because there are some specific categories for in-house teams and for PR agencies.
Okay, it's a very interesting one just come in. Is it not a contest of who has the most votes? I know of an agency that sends their interns around the office using different PCs to vote. I do wonder if they will change the awards. Not come across that before, I have to say. Do you want to comment on that, Paul?
No, I mean, is that a question aimed at shortlisting, if you're wondering which entries to shortlist, or is that how the voting system votes itself within AMEC? Because I'm sure you'd vehemently deny.
I mean, just to reassure everyone on the call, we have an international panel of judges. I mean, these are genuine industry leaders. They are untouchable in terms of being influenced. They vote in very small groups, either in pairs or in threes, and so we wouldn't have that interns roving around the office problem.
It's also worth, again, going back to the AMEC website, because it explains the criteria on how the awards are judged, and it gives very clear guidance on the scoring system that's used.
Okay, and the question, are the winners naturally also great campaigns with big analysis and monitoring budgets? Chris?
No, I don't think necessarily they are. I'm just thinking of the case studies that we won with last year, one of which was actually Pegasus as an agency and the work that we had done. And actually really the investment that we made was purely from our time. That there wasn't really an external kind of budget for monitoring or costs. And same with the campaign case studies as well. So I don't think it's necessarily the biggest and the kind of the biggest budget campaigns that win. I think it's these awards are really good at recognising truly great work. And my advice is, you know, if you think that you could have a contender, give it a go. You know, what have you got to lose, really? So it's a really good opportunity to benchmark your work, as I said, and you know, and get some feedback on how you're doing against the rest of the industry.
Great. Yeah, Chris, I totally agree with that. I think the scale doesn't matter. I think it's about telling the right story. You know, the two case studies I gave, very different scales. You've got DEFRA, a major government department, and you've got the DMA with a specific campaign on a much smaller budget.
Okay, we promised you a 30-minute webinar. We want to stay true to that. Just put a slide up if you are interested in measurement and more in-house firms, more and more departments, more and more PR consultancies are joining the AMEC community in this. Come and join us in Stockholm at our international summit. There's a slide up now, and you'll find details on our website. My thanks on your behalf to Paul Hender and Chris Webb, and thanks to you for tuning in. Thank you and goodbye.